You'd think selling way more than you buy is a great sign for an economy, right? But what if it's not a sign of strength, but actually a clue to a really deep economic puzzle? Well, today we're diving into exactly that, the mystery behind Russia's massive, decades-long trade surplus.
All right, so let's get right into it. This is really the core question we're trying to answer. I mean, on the surface, it sounds fantastic, doesn't it? Selling more than you buy. But when a surplus is this big and it lasts for this long, well, that's when economists start getting really curious. And the answer, as you're about to see, is definitely not what you'd expect.
Okay, just so we're all on the same page here, let's quickly talk about what a trade balance even is. It's pretty simple, really. It's just the value of what a country sells, its exports, minus what it buys, its imports. So when a country, like Russia in this case, sells more than it buys, it's running what we call a surplus. It's a really basic but super important idea for understanding how any country fits into the global economy. All right, so let's get a handle on the sheer scale of this thing. We're not talking about a small, temporary surplus that pops up for a year or two. No, this is a massive, persistent feature of the Russian economy. Get this. Since 1994, Russia's trade surplus has averaged a staggering 8.9% of its GDP. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that is not just a small gain. That's a huge structural part of its economy that's been there for an entire generation. Okay, so when economists see something like this, how do they usually explain it? Well, they have a kind of standard toolkit, a couple of go-to explanations they check first. And usually, it boils down to two main things. First up is relative income. The idea is if other countries are getting richer, well, they're just going to buy more of your stuff. Makes sense. The second one is the exchange rate. If your currency gets weaker, your goods suddenly look like a bargain to everyone else, and boom, your exports go up. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, here's where the plot thickens. The research behind this whole explainer found that for Russia, these usual suspects, they have a surprisingly weak effect. So the puzzle gets even deeper. If the textbook answer doesn't fit, what on earth is really going on? And this brings us to the real heart of the argument. The key, it turns out, isn't just about how much Russia is trading. It's all about what it's trading. So the researchers put forward a completely different idea. They argue that the composition, the specific mix of goods being exported and imported, is the real key here. And to really get why this is so important, we need to quickly touch on one more economic concept. And that concept is something called price inelasticity. Now, I know, it sounds like a bit of jargon, but the idea is actually super simple. An inelastic good is just something you have to buy, pretty much no matter what it costs. Think about gasoline for your car. If you need to get to work, you're gonna fill up the tank, right? This idea, it is absolutely central to cracking Russia's surplus puzzle. All right, let's look at the actual data and see how this plays out in the real world, because this is where the whole story really clicks into place. So check this out. Nearly half, almost 50% of what Russia sells to the rest of the world is crude oil and natural gas. I mean, these are the absolute classic examples of price inelastic goods. The entire global economy runs on this stuff, so countries have to buy it. This gives Russia a huge and incredibly stable source of cash flowing in. Okay, now let's flip it around and look at the other side of the ledger. What is Russia buying? Well, a pretty big slice is high-tech goods. We're talking machinery, electronics, things that are often crucial for keeping an economy modern. And those can be inelastic too. But here's the kicker, the really crucial difference. While Russia sells a mountain of oil and gas, it buys almost none of it. And there it is. That's the solution to the puzzle. Russia sells high-value, essential energy that the world absolutely has to buy. And on the other hand, it buys different, essential, high-tech goods that it has to import. It's this powerful, almost one-way street for energy trade that just locks in that massive surplus year after year. So, okay, we've cracked the puzzle. But why does this matter? What does it all mean? This is way more than just some academic curiosity. It has huge real-world implications for Russia and for the entire global economy. For one thing, it tells us that the typical economic policies, like trying to mess with the currency value to boost exports, they probably won't be very effective for Russia. Why? Because it's the type of goods being traded that matters most, not just the price.
For another, you can think of this giant surplus as a kind of precautionary savings, like a massive rainy day fund that helps protect the economy when those super volatile oil and gas prices take a nosedive. And maybe most importantly, it's a powerful reminder that what a country is actually good at making and selling, its production structure, is what truly drives its economic destiny.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This whole situation with Russia is a powerful reminder that a country's shopping list, what it sells to the world and what it buys from the world, is so much more than just a bunch of economic data. In a way, it's a map of its present, and maybe, just maybe, it's a blueprint for its future. Thanks so much for tuning in.